up, guys? This is episode 2 of Adulteen Season 3. Today, we will be discussing beauty standards in the Black community. But before we get into it, you know I got to introduce my guest. Come on, let's see it.
Woo! Hello, everyone. My name is Brier Evans. I am a junior mass communication major here at Xavier.
What else? Where you from, girl?
Okay, so me, I rep 767.
Okay.
I am from the island, the Commonwealth of Dominica. Nice to meet you in the Caribbean, not DR. Thank you very much.
Get it right. Get it right. Don't play with her. So look, when we think about beauty standards, it's so many avenues that we can go down. But I want to know, looking back, when you were young, what was your earliest interpretation of beauty standards?
So, as we all know, like colorism plays a big part, because that's what we're talking about right now. Colorism plays a big part in predominantly Black and brown populations, right?
Right.
So, back home, my earliest memory, honestly, I've thought about beauty and have associated that with skin color my entire life, right? And it's just always been a thing. Like, I remember my earliest memory was like my brothers, like we used to play this thing where we'd be like, oh, I'm lighter than you today. Oh, my eyes are like browner than you. Like, oh, you go out in the sun, you're dark. And like, it used to get on our nerves. Like, that used to affect us. I'm like, why would we even say, like, to this day, sometimes we say like, oh, you got dark. And even though I know like it's not the same as, how it was back then, like I still feel like I feel sensitive when he tells me that. My brothers tell me that, like, oh, when we play, like, oh, my hair's getting longer, my locks are longer than you, like, don't you feel bad, yada yada. It's like all these little intricacies, all these little snippets of what we say to each other. I feel like all that's linked in like how we perceive beauty, right? So like we perceive it as so we perceive it as if my eyes are browner or lighter, I'm more attractive. If my skin is lighter, I'm more attractive. Like that's always been something I've grown up with. Like my mom is light skin, my dad is dark skin, right?
Right.
And people in high school used to ask me, yo, are you adopted?
Wow.
And I was like, what are you talking about? Like,
Right.
oh, because you're like darker than your mom. You don't look anything like your mom. Like, are you adopted? I'm like, bro, that's my mother. Like,
Right.
That's my mother. I don't want to tell you.
That's
Like,
your family.
yeah.
So look, I guess for me, so my family, we're all women.
Yeah.
And so beauty standards is probably one of the first things I had to learn when I was young, because since we're all growing up as girls, we had to just deal with these expectations and these standards that our parents put on us, and at school. And so we're like, okay, well, I had older cousins, and they would wear, they're a little old enough so that they would wear weave. And so because I was young, I couldn't do that. But just seeing them wear it, it was like, okay, well, I guess that's the standard, because they made it to where, okay, if you wear weave, you're beautiful. And that's what I thought for a long time. I was like, okay. And I used to get upset with my mom. I was in middle school, and I was like, why don't I have tracks? Why can't I get tracks? Yeah. And she was like, no, Zoe, you're going to be natural. And she made me be natural. And I'm not going to lie, I actually hated my natural hair. I absolutely hated it. It got to the point where, because not only did, the weave thing kind of impact me, but, there's other avenues to get to the same thing, if you get what I'm saying. So if I couldn't get weave, I would straighten my hair. Okay. So I was like, I'm going to do what I can to fulfill the beauty standards. Yeah. So I remember even like in, I think this was elementary and middle, I would be friends with a lot of white girls, and they had straight hair, of course. And so I was like, okay, Mom, I want to get a perm. And I used to get perms. I started to get those.
Oh, yeah, we all had that phase. Yeah.
They're just for me, be for real. And I was so mad, because I was like, okay, the girl in the box has long straight hair,
full straight,
and why is it when my mom straightens my hair, I'm looking like James Brown? She's bumping the ends. I'm like, what? Bump the ends? I used to get so mad about that. I used to get so mad about that.
They used to put your perm hair in like rollers, bro.
Don't even get me started.
You used to sleep like you almost like a crook in your neck, bro.
The crook. Absolutely. I used to get so upset about that. But honestly, if we want to get into colorism, of course, because I'm light skinned, the idea or the concept of colorism didn't come until I started to educate myself about Black culture, about Black history in the community. But what I can say that is, I guess speaking for those light skins out there, I it's interesting how like in my family, I would get like a little jokes, and I'm not saying that I've experienced colorism, because I absolutely have not. But I've experienced like little jokes that ties to colorism, because they would joke, but it would be, it would have like a deeper meaning to it. So like, for example, like, I'll just be, I'll do anything. Like I'll just be dancing or something. And then like my cousins would be like, oh, look at her. She's so light. She's just so bright. Just so light skin. Look at her. She don't know nothing. I was like, okay, well, what do I say to that? But it's like, I can't necessarily invalidate your experiences or, those with darker skin, because it's an issue. And it's like, how do we start to tackle these issues in the Black community, I guess, from our standpoint?
Well, first of all, in the Black community, in general, we don't like talking about colorism, is what I've noticed. All the people tend to like brush it to the side, because there's so much more to focus on, is the idea, right? Civil rights, police brutality, all this stuff, right? And then that's put to the back burner, and it's like, why? You know what I mean? Like it's not a disunity, but there is a problem in the Black community, and that we don't like to address it, because I don't know if it's like, oh, we don't want to show how non-harmonized, I don't know, what's the word again, disharmonized, whatever it is.
I get it.
And it sucks. It does suck. As for colorism in many Black populations, it's an issue, right? So like for us back home, we have this term that we call shabin, right? And shabin means red-skinned person, but we usually just say it for like a light-skinned person. And bro, when I tell you, like, people loved like being called like shabin, it was like, if you're light skinned, bro, back home, it was like, oh, you're instantly pretty. At least that's how it was when I was in high school. I think now people are starting to like change those views, because I mean, we adopted and absorbed those views kind of from media and social media. Like what we see on television, what we hear in songs, what we read in books, or what we see in music videos, we absorbed that culture and we absorbed that standard, and we kind of made it or adopted into our culture. You know what I mean? And Absolutely. It's like, okay, so if this light-skinned girl on TV or this actress on TV is light-skinned and she's portrayed to be this idol beauty standard, it's like, okay, well then that means I need to look like that. I need to be fairer. I need to be, I don't know, skinnier. Right. I need to be, my hair needs to be curly. I need to be straight. It's like all these restrictions, all these what's the word? Constraints that we put in ourselves.
Absolutely. And I think that not only does it start in the home, but it really is the media. Like,
it is. No, definitely it is.
Literally, because it's crazy, because I wanted to be white. Like that's the ultimate beauty standard, was to be white. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna straighten my hair, and it wasn't even so that way I could be like, like a Zendaya, or well, even then she's half white.
Yeah.
But no, like I would want to have my hair straight like white girls, and I would often start to gear my interest towards the things that my white friends care about, even though I didn't like. I wanted to listen to Michael Jackson, and I was like, okay, that's kind of uncool for them, so I'm gonna go and listen to One Direction. I don't care about them.
Okay, wait, pause. Wait a minute. One Direction, bro, you're good, man. There's some good songs. Story of my life. Okay, that's fine.
You don't know you're beautiful. I guess maybe that's the theme song. That's gonna be the theme song.
Honestly, I resonate with that when you said that you want to be white. Because have you heard the term like white as Rider? You ever heard that?
That sounds familiar, but I feel like I get it.
Man, it's like you equate lightness with beauty. You know what I mean? And for me, and I personally resonate with that, because for me, I struggled with defining beauty for myself for so long as a kid. Still do. It still translates in everything I do, everything I touch, everything I create, everything who I am. Like that is there. So when I was in high school, I was like maybe 12. I was like 12, 13 in that year. I became very self-conscious about my skin color. Like very self-conscious. Now back home it's hot, right? Everyone, gets a little sunburned, but I was very sensitive about how I looked, about how my color looked, because I thought that, okay, a lot of my friends are light skinned, a lot of my friends get like attraction like from guys and other people, and it's like, okay, if they're getting attraction, they're light skinned, they're curly hair, yada yada. I can't just transform my hair curly, but I could probably make myself lighter. Do you know what I mean? Right. Like that was my mentality. And so I'd asked my best friend at the time, I was like, okay, can you order bleaching cream from Amazon for me? And she did.
From
Amazon. Bro, where's the restrictions? I'm so confused. So she also 12, 13, like she got it for me. I didn't tell my mom. Like I hid it for months, man. I was so scared. I used to like put it on, like hide it under my bed so no one can see that I have it. So I had it on. I used it for the entire summer. I stayed indoors. I was like, okay, the label says stay indoors, don't go in the sun. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm not going in the sun. Stay indoors. My dad was like, yo, you getting light? I'm like, yeah, I'm not going outside. Yeah, that's what it is. And then I was really like, I was proud of myself, kind of. Like, I was really happy with the results. I was like, okay, I'm getting lighter. I'm so happy. Like, I'm pretty. I'm beautiful.
Right.
Got back to school, bro. First day in, I had sports. I had PE. Third period. I said, dang, the sun. They said don't go in the sun. It's like 10 a.m., 10:30. It's like, right.
They got you like a vampire.
I'm like, she's like, you got to participate. I'm like, okay. So I went in the sun, bro. It was like 45 minutes. I came back in. I was dark. I hated myself that day. I was like, all this 2 months long process of like making myself lighter just to like it be done in like 45 minutes.
The black just won't crack.
It keep coming back. It do.
We say still nigga.
Right. No. Okay. I was so sensitive, Zoe. Like I really hated myself. Like I used to cry myself sleeping. Like why am I hate my skin color. I hate being called like dark. I hate when my brother's like, oh, you're dark. I'm like, ugh. Like my friends like, you're dark, you're black. It's like, I mean, even if it's like they don't mean it like any way, it's just like a fact, right? You're black. But I took it to heart because I'm like, in my head, I know what black means. Black doesn't mean beautiful. Being dark doesn't mean beautiful to me. I've never seen an individual black woman with it. She's like praised for her darkness at that time. I've never seen that. The guys aren't attracted to the darkest girls. Like I've never seen that.
Right.
So to me, it's like, okay, I'm ugly. I'm ugly. And now I'm now finally starting to become comfortable in my skin. I do see the fact that I do still tend to be sensitive. I recognize that. I'm very aware when I become sensitive. And I try to correct. I'm like, Brie, this is you, bro. Just accept it. Right. Accept it. Love your skin. Do you know what I mean? Because I have great skin.
Girl, your skin is gorgeous. Don't play with them. Don't do it.
Yeah. So it's, man, that was my experience of colorism.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Yeah. So like, man.
And it's crazy because it's like, how do you even heal from situations like that? And it doesn't help because now that we have the introduction of social media.
Oh, social media is a devil.
It's like the situation has just expanded times like 100. Yeah. And it's like, how do we fight this?
Yeah. Because now everything is highlighted now. Do you know what I mean? Like, even if people say, oh, we are fighting against colorism, we are trying to battle. I mean, I don't see it yet, but like we are trying to do that. I'm like, okay, but the people in the spotlight right now, the people who I see in movies and the music videos and all that stuff, they're light-skinned women.
They are.
They're light-skinned women. All this there, the light-skinned women are portrayed a bit more attractive than the dark-skinned women.
2 red bones kissing in the back seat. They always do that.
They do. And it's kind of disheartening, you know what I mean? It's disheartening to see. But I mean, honestly, beauty is something that, like, it's a journey. Finally seeing that your beauty is a journey, especially if this society, it's so harsh. That society is so harsh especially when it comes to like who is pretty, who is not, who's attractive, who's ugly, who's all that. Like, it's like, dang.
So, who do you think sets the beauty standards? I have an idea, but
you have an idea. I think beauty standards, first of all, originated from, well, what we perceive it now, right now, from white men. I would say they're in control of everything. They're in control of the media masses. White men. Who makes the music videos? Yeah, I mean, you have a creative director, but like, who's in charge of like the agencies and the industries? Who's putting out the movies, the production companies, like casting?
It's gatekeeping.
Yeah.
It's agenda setting.
It's all of them.
It's all the media theories.
All of them.
All of them.
All of it. I learned it.
We learned it.
We learned in class.
In our mass comm class.
Yes.
But no, and it's crazy because, you know, that generational trauma or just like a result of, you know, racism and oppression and white supremacy, it trickles down into and it affects our black men.
Yeah.
And so when we're in spaces where we're like, oh, okay, well, you know, for example, if we go to a production and we say all black cast, or if we watch a movie and we know it's an all black cast and the director's black, the producer's black, so we're like, okay, well, maybe we should, you know, maybe we should be at ease. But necessarily we can't, because we see that these black men are still putting us in these boxes. And it doesn't help, because it's like, okay, well, if these black men who are, you know, we would consider like our fathers, and if they're telling us, oh, well, we're not beautiful because we're not light skinned, then it's like, okay, how do we even set our own beauty standards if we're tearing ourselves down?
Honestly, and the tearing ourselves down comes from like each side though. Like I know, for me, I consider myself dark skin, first of all. For me, I tear myself down every day because I'm like, oh, I don't think I'm beautiful. I don't. Like, I struggle with that every day. But I know, like, on light skins is like, it's so weird. It's like,
what do you mean?
I'm like saying it's like,
it is what
on
it
the
is.
opposite side. It's like, you know, it's weird saying it like this. It's weird saying it like that in general, like the light skins and the dark skins. It's like, bro, come on now. What is this? So, yeah. But it's just, I know y'all also go through a struggle.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, your fetishized, your exotic side. You're like,
yeah.
I mean, there is both parts have. You know, it's no grass is green on it. It's the same grass, brother.
It's not.
It's the same thing, but it's like,
it's not. But we still do experience a privilege. And it's like weird, because it's like I didn't ask for this privilege, and it makes me weird when I see that it's being, you know, shown.
I mean, it's privilege, but it's also like take it for granted as well. It's like, oh yeah, she's beautiful, but we don't really listen to her. You know what I mean? She isn't being taken seriously. You know what I mean? It's like when light skin women cry, it's like, oh, damsel in distress. Oh, this poor baby, like, you know, oh, like airhead, like, you know, it's like, dark skin women cry. It's also like, oh, this aggressive. What is she? Right, toughen up. What are you doing? Weaken the knees, girl. What?
Literally, like make that make sense.
It's weird on both sides. It's weird as hell.
I think it's definitely weird, especially in the dating pool.
Oof.
Oh
man, don't even get me started. I was talking about this in the lab, bro. I'm just saying, like, for me, my personal point of view, I'm just saying, like, what is the foundation, the source, the origin of having like these color preferences in women?
Slavery.
You know what I mean? Like,
slavery.
Definitely. But it's like, if you tell me it's just my preference, what is that?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
They don't necessarily understand that when it comes to certain preferences, I believe that it's rooted in something that's generational
somewhere. Unless there's like an emotional tie. Like, I don't know if you've always been surrounded by them, if you've you know, some trauma, something. Give me something to be like, okay, I understand why you like what you like.
Right.
But if it's like, I don't know, it's just my preference.
For
it's
real,
like
I'll be asking, for real, like guys will be like, oh, I think you're cute. I'm like, okay, why do you think I'm cute? And it's like, you know, my type, I'm not gonna lie, it's light skin. You know, I like light skin.
That's ignorant.
And I'm like, why? Like, and they don't be having no real reason. It's just like, so you're anti-black.
On both sides, you don't care for the person, really.
And then it sucks because it's like we can't even necessarily blame them because they're victims.
They are
of the system, and it's like, are we?
But you can choose to. You know, I'm like, you can always choose to break out of something.
That's
if you're comfortable in where you're at, well, then you're comfortable. You stay there. You stay ignorant. That's what it is.
I mean, but you know how these guys are our age. You know, they're comfortable in their lack of self-awareness. They're content. We'll get into that later. Another episode.
No, but yeah, beauty beauty is crazy. I was doing a study because I'm doing a research on the cross-cultural manifestations of colorism. And I did one on Xavier's campus, and just a mix of girls from different shades and complexions. And there was a constant question I asked every time, and I was like, do you think you're beautiful? Right? And across the spectrum, it's like, I don't know. I don't think so. I've been told I'm pretty, I've been told I'm beautiful, but I don't think I'm beautiful. These characteristics, when we think of like colorism and the beauty standard, I don't fit that category. So I don't think I'm beautiful, or I do fit that category, but I don't know, like I don't think I'm beautiful. Like I don't think like it's real, like it's genuine. You know what I mean? And it's so weird because I'm like, girls, we do not, me especially, we do not know if we're beautiful or not. We don't believe when people say that we're beautiful. We don't know what that is. And it's like a strange when people say you're beautiful. Like, people say like you're pretty. It's like, oh, thank you. People say you're beautiful, you're like, man,
really? I don't know. Maybe it's different for me. I feel like when they be like, oh, you're so beautiful, I'm like, thanks. I don't know. It don't really hit.
You don't believe it? Or do you just don't care?
Not even that. I don't necessarily believe it. I think first of all, it depends on who it's coming from.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Right. Depends on who it's coming from. Yeah. And then it's like, I feel like a lot of the times, like I feel like my beauty isn't even all the time, like, true. Because it's like people say that, oh, you're pretty or beautiful, and it's mostly because they're light-skinned. But it's like, if we're being for real, I know quite a few light skins who are not pretty.
So
I think that's just what it is. But then that makes me think, do you think that people should have standards for beauty? If they're not rooted in colorism or pedophilia or
what I'm saying is like, what is a standard? Because the standard means there's something. It's a hierarchy, right? That's what the standard means. Like there is a below average, is above average. The standard is like the baseline, right, of what you need to be. What is that? Because I feel like beauty itself is also subjective. I feel like different traits or characteristics makes one beautiful. Necessarily doesn't have to be like physical attributes. It's like personality, or even a great smile or something. But like, right. I feel like what is the category? What is the standard for beauty?
Right. Like, I think it's interesting how you see like standards as a hierarchy. Yeah. Because to me, when I think of standards, I think of like, for example, what are my preferences more than a hierarchy? Like, for example, they're like, okay, so what are your standards for dating? Like, what do you look for in a guy and things like that? And that doesn't necessarily mean like physical attributes. I think standards can be okay. I feel like I feel like a lot of people just have individual standards, but I think it becomes an issue when that standard becomes a generalization. Okay. And they're like, oh, well, for example, like me, okay, yeah, I like guys that are tall. And but when it becomes a whole thing where it's like, oh, all tall guys are the standard, or all that's not true. Do you get what I'm saying?
I see what you mean.
I feel like it's kind of like an individual interpretation, but it becomes an issue when it's rooted in those dysfunctional or toxic notions behind it.
I definitely get that, but have we even made that like clear to ourselves? Because I feel like when you ask us a standard for beauty, it's gonna be the same answer regardless. You know what I mean?
I think that we have to come to a consensus, especially as a Black community, to really sit down and analyze. Why do we see certain people as beautiful? Why do we see certain people as ugly? And like we have to start asking each other why, because usually we don't explain it. We're just like, oh, they're just ugly. Oh,
yeah, we don't like to talk, bro.
Like,
my aunt said that to me.
Don't talk about nothing anyway.
It's very funny. My aunt said that to me too. She was like, especially people back home, like all family in general too. And I guess that goes for the community in general too. Like, we don't like asking why. We don't like hearing why. We don't like getting pressured to why. Why do you feel this way? Why do you react like this? Why do you respond to this? Why do you like this? Don't you like this? It's like, I don't like, even when like I experienced that when she was asking me why, I used to get so irritated. I was like, why are you asking me? Like, I feel like I was very clear. You know what I mean? But in truth, I wasn't. And I wasn't being honest with myself. Like, why do I like this? Why do I feel this way? You know, I don't like talking about my feelings. I don't, like, it's an issue
it's
all
unfair,
around.
And I think that if we need to really advance as a Black community, because right now we are stuck at the bottom of the stairwell, and in order for us to advance, we need to sit down and have these conversations.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it's unfortunate because it's like, you know, when you talk with your family, you know, and certain people, it's like, especially older generations, I'm going to call y'all out, okay? It can be hard trying to express our feelings because we're brought up under this rule where, you know, free speech is like, you know, you're being a smart aleck, or, you know, like you just have to be quiet, you know, shut up, you know, when I say no, it's no, you know, like we can never ask why. Yeah. And we feel like, you know, in order for us to really understand and have that intergenerational, like, connect, we have to be able to, you know, speak up and create a space for us, especially if you are, you know, a parent. You have to create a space for us to be able to have these conversations. That way we can, you know, really, like, get to the bottom of it. Yeah. Because how are we going to know if we don't talk about it?
Yeah, no, you're right. That's really all across, actually, in every aspect, beauty, religion, politics, like, philosophy. I don't care, whatever y'all get into. Like, questions, I think, are mandatory.
Absolutely.
Like, to know your stance and stuff, to know your ideology, to know your own personal philosophy, I feel like questions need to be asked.
Absolutely.
In every direction.
Absolutely. So, with that being said, I must say this was such a wonderful episode with my dear friend Brier. She always comes through. You know, this is her topic, y'all.
Thank you.
She was so excited. She was just on the edge of her seat.
I was shaking.
She
Excitement.
was shaking, yeah.
Yes.
To be on the episode. But thank you guys for tuning in again. This is episode 2. So stay tuned for a couple more soon. But thank you guys again. I'm your host, Zoe Trask.